I'm Jason Sylvia, and this is the Creative Capital Show. A show about creative people and how those creative people turn into entrepreneurs by taking their creativity and turning it into a business and facing all the trials and tribulations along the way. There are people out there who choose the business they want to start or be a part of. But what happens when the business chooses you? And what happens when that business is the family business? That's the story of this episode's guest, Mikey Phenglee. Mikey is the manager of Asian Bakery and Fast Food, a family-run business with an interesting name and an even more interesting history. In this episode, Mikey talks about what happens when a profession and its responsibilities are thrust upon you, how to balance the traditions of the past with the constant changes of the future, using your personal story to help brand your business, how food crosses cultural boundaries, and how doing the small things right can build love for you and your business. And it all starts with a banh mi sandwich. Enjoy. Mike,
what's up?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this. Or I should maybe not Mike. Maybe people know you as Tiny Giant.
Yeah.
And
so
let's go with that. Let's just how did you get that name?
Okay. Funny story. I was in Thailand, and my mom and my dad, they're from a region called Udon Thani, and I was like, wow, Tiny. I was like, oh, yeah, I could do something with that. And it just so happened to be, I was watching this volleyball anime, Haikyuu, and they call him the Little Giant, and I'm like, I can't go with that, but I love the anime so much. So I was like, you know what? Tiny Giant. Let me just put a little spin on that. And only one person has ever questioned me about how I got that name. And she was like, wait, hold on. She just had it click in the moment, message me about it. And she was like, yo, is your name from Haikyuu? And I was like, yo, yeah, you're the first person to ask me that. And I'm just like, yeah, I like it because I love volleyball. I love, just playing around. I'm not a professional in any way, but I'll play volleyball here and there and fuck around.
I feel like just that name from a font and phonetic perspective, and then also from logos. And now that I know it's part of an anime, I feel like you need to really just hone in on the branding of that. But that's maybe a different conversation for a different time because we only got so much time on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm like, man, now you really got me thinking. I'm like, you need to have that on business cards, stickers, some kind of web show. Maybe you do stuff with banh mi sandwiches, which we're going to get into that in a bit. But speaking about being a professional athlete, because you went to classical high school, and for those listening to the show that are not from the Providence, Rhode Island area, I will have my first guest that's not from the Rhode Island area. I promise everybody that will be coming up. But for those of you that are in the Providence, Rhode Island area, or who are not from Providence, Rhode Island, classical is a high school in Providence, and you went there and you were an athlete in the, what was it, shot put, track and field?
Yeah.
You want to go into that a little bit?
This woman named Manny. I don't know if those are correct pronouns, but I'm assuming that they are. Freshman year, she looks at me and she's like, hey, you should come and try to do track and field. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. I show up and then they put me on a weight throw. This is the first freshman year, so it's indoor season right in fall, winter. And coach is like, yo, you're good. I mean, for me, it's I didn't really care about the sport like that, but it's hey, if I just need to throw, push a heavy object as far as I can, wonderful, let's do that. Not enough, freshmen, nobody, at least around me, we're not looking at technique and all that. We're just we're men. We're going to push this ball as far as we can. And that freshman year was so funny because we would yell when we would push or throw the weights because we saw YouTube videos do it. So why not? Maybe it made us throw a little further, whatever the case may be. But after freshman year, I stopped all that. I didn't really, get too involved with the whole yelling aspect of it. It wasn't my thing. once you hit like that varsity, it's like, yeah, no, it wasn't really for me.
I have a question in the sense of like, you were doing like the athlete thing for a little bit. Did you always have this love of food? Because like what I've noticed from just like your social media, like your Instagram and stuff, is that you're a lover of food, but what I think is awesome that you're a lover of food that's like not pretentious about it. Like you're not just like, I'm going to go to this place and eat for the gram or because it's like the hot spot. Like, and you're even going outside of Providence, like you're going to other towns and like eating their food, whether it's like their version of fast food, bar food, whatever. So how did this love of food develop and like going to all these different restaurants? Was that something growing up or was that something that is more recent in your life?
It's a mixture. I think I grew up loving food. Might be on a kind of a coping mechanism. There's a little side note. I'm not going to expand on it too much, but so my dad, he used to cook for me. Like it's a very fond memory, which is why like to this day I'll die on this hill saying like if I could have like my last meal, my one meal for the rest of my life, it's rice and fried eggs with soy sauce. It's like the first meal that I was taught to cook. It was the first meal that like, I come home from school, it's gonna be ready for me. So I loved food growing up. My dad was a cook. Unfortunately he passed way back in like 2007 along with my sister. Small little detail. Yeah. So I've always been around food, but I like food. I don't really care about, I guess, people's opinions so much. Like, food is fucking delicious. Food is amazing. I love food. Food can only get better. Imagine being born in like the 1800s and eating boiled chicken. Fuck that. We got juicy grilled chicken now. Imagine that grilled chicken not being like ridiculously dry. Doesn't happen often. Food can only get better, and it's like the only thing that is either better or worse is if like, shit, did you fuck up? Did you fuck up the food? Because like there's ways to make it great. So it's not
great. So what happened?
So what happened? Like, did you not pay attention? Whatever.
What you do?
Pretty much. It's like food can only get better from here. There's no going back. So it's like you're here to eat good. And I was like, I want to eat good. Like if I'm going to go out, I'm going to want to eat whatever I want. Deliciously. I want it. I want it all. Especially if it's like within the price range. And like, during the pandemic, my big thing was like, hey, yo, you're supporting a local business. Keep eating out. You've been working all day. You do not want to cook for yourself to go home to. You're ordering takeout for dinner. Just keep supporting local businesses, like North. I ordered for them like twice a week eating chirashi because I was like, yeah, give me some rice and sashimi. This shit's amazing. I love it. Uncle Sushi too. I actually grew up around the owner's sons, Jordan and Tyson. My dad used to be really good friends with them before he passed. So, I was always going around them. So, like, I'm, like, pretty well connected with, like, a lot of other, like, local Asian businesses, supermarkets and stuff, just because I always grew up around them.
There was a number of things that you touched upon, which is going to lead into questions later on.
Yeah, I just go off on a tangent.
No. I encourage the tangents because, like, then it makes it seem like I planned all this ahead of time, and I never do on any of these shows. So it just seems like it's seamless, but it really isn't, ladies and gentlemen. But I do have a question in the sense of, you're talking about your family and how food and family are. It seems like they're integrated with, in your life, like food integrated into family. So the reason why I got you on the show is because you run, and cook at, to my knowledge, unless like, feel free to correct me, Asian bakery. And I actually found out about you through Die House.
Really? Okay.
Which is another episode, folks. That's going to be coming out soon. So just going to do a little shameless cross promotion.
Jake was already on here. Awesome.
Yep. So like that episode's going to be coming out soon as well. How Die House, but like found out about you through Die House, and just like looking at everything. So a couple of things. One, it's called Asian Bakery. Why just the name Asian Bakery, and why not like use your family's name and whatnot? And then the second part of the question is, it's a family-run business. Like, how long has your family had that? Or I'm assuming it's a family-run business. It seems like it. How long has your family had that business for?
Okay, so part one, Asian Bakery is named that because my mama did not want to go through the fees to change the name. She did not want to go through multiple re-inspections and everything to get the name changed at the time, and we just rolled with it. The previous owner, I know her as Khan. I don't know if that's her real name, but I know her as Khan, and she was the original owner way back in like probably early 90s, maybe even the late 80s. But she had it for at least, I want to say at least like 10 years, because like I remember, being a kid at like 3-4 years old. So this is probably like what, 2000, 2001, and I would like go inside the shop. So I at least know that she had up until probably like 2003, 2004, something like that. But she had Asian bakery. And what's nuts is she actually used to do it buffet style too, for like high school kids, and I think she did an amazing job with it.
For the people that don't know, like, just can you iterate on like what you mean by buffet style?
Buffet style, she used to be like the Chinatown on Thayer.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, she was just having boxes and scooping it and still making banh mi's.
I also don't get the appeal of Chinatown on Thayer. Like, it's not bad, but I don't get why there's a line. And I live on Thayer, like, so I really don't understand. But
are you drinking enough?
Even so, I won't. I would much rather go to a U and and get better food in my humble opinion. But you're not openly. But if you were, or
oh man,
but that's another conversation.
No, that's another conversation. We're not getting to the late night banh mi's. That's a story for another day. But
so your family, like, why did that person, I guess, sell the business? If you know
that, I actually don't know.
I
think she's just like like anything. Like I think most people like reach this at some point in like restaurant industry, is that it's very tiring and stressful. It's a lot of work. It's like, you have your opening and close hours, but then you also have your, I got to go in way before those opening hours, and also stay much later than the closing hours.
And it was just this one single person, or was it this person's family?
I think it was this person's family. I think it might have been her. She might have had like some side help, but like I was definitely way too young to remember. But then at some point she didn't want it. My aunt took it over. I don't think my aunt did too great with it, to be honest. But then at some point, we're gonna probably come back to this a few more times. But after my father and my sister passed, my mom, she was like, well, what do I do? I don't know how else to make money. I can't go get a corporate job. I can't do this and also take care of a 10-year-old son. So she's like, I know how to cook. My aunt was also like, I don't really want the store like this right now. And like, so my mom took it over. So she's like, and we struggled for a while, from what, like 2000. So we probably took it in like 2008 or like late 2007. And like things didn't get too great until like 2013, 14. It was like a lot of years of like, so like kind of like you really had to go through the trenches for that. And like most businesses get that, I think, I want to say. And like unless they have already established themselves, you're going to go through the trenches for a while.
So is that in the sense like the transition? Because, so if I'm understanding you correctly, Asian bakery existed.
Always.
This one person had it. They, for whatever reason, decided they're like, hey, I'm done. Mm-hmm. I'm out the game. Your aunt wants to take it over. Mm-hmm. Your aunt takes it over for, I'm guessing, maybe a couple of years. Not doing so great. Then you have, your father and your sister pass away. Your mom's like, how else am I going to make money? I do know how to cook. And was it just more of a timing thing where your aunt is like, hey, I don't want this anymore. And your mom's like, hey, I need this business in a way to make money. And it just kind of worked out?
Pretty much.
And then your mom, I know that's actually a good tactical move, I guess, for people out there. If you're taking over a business, you don't change the name. I'm guessing, I didn't realize that, like, you don't have to go through inspections or like.
Yeah, you just took it over. You just keep paying the taxes. Like, I mean, I don't know how different it is now because like every, rules are always changing, whatever the case may be. But
especially in Providence, where it seems like it's every other month.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure I keep seeing a different email from one department or another. But it's like, yeah, you take it over, you take your LLC. I mean, I'm too young to know any of this, but like, that my mom had it, like, she set it all up and whatever. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Did your mom have a background in like the food service restaurant industry or no?
Not really, no. So my mom's from Thailand. She only actually really knew how to maybe make Thai desserts, and that's like between like steaming and I want to say baking, but not like some cakes and stuff like that. But it's just like baking like almost like custards and stuff. I don't even know how to like describe it well, but she was more of like that. My dad was the one who like did food, so food was not something that was like necessarily on, you know, the plan. But it's like, well, when you're backed up into a corner, what's your other option?
Was your mom in a different line of work before that, or?
No, she was doing something similar, but we like were doing it out of the house.
Okay, I got you.
This is the part where I'm gonna be like, yeah, we ain't gonna get into that part.
Okay.
Technically illegal.
Okay. All right.
You know, you can't really sell out your house without licenses and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I feel like funny enough though, maybe it's the timing of the show that a lot of those quote unquote technically illegal businesses happen.
There's a bunch. There's so many
during the pandemic in all sorts of cities.
And I'll tell you right now, I was buying them, but like if I didn't know the person personally, I was not purchasing.
It's a different story.
I'm like, I really had to like trust you to be like, okay, your house is clean enough for me to like eat.
You're not gonna accidentally kill me.
Yeah, like you got to take a judge of character here.
So, your mom takes over the business, and you're a young kid. Was it in the plan that? Because I find this interesting when it comes to like family run businesses, is that sometimes like they'll tell like the kids in the family like, oh no, as soon as you're of age where it's like the Department of Labor's not gonna like come and sue my ass. You're working in this damn store. You're working in this shop, but other families they're like, no, you don't have to do this. Like, go get a job on your own, see what you can do. What was it for you? Was it in the plans? Like, did your mom have it in the plans that like, oh yeah, you're gonna work here? Or was that a difference? And if that was the case, did you actually want to work there, or was there resistance? Like, I really don't want to. I want to do this.
It was half and half. So like the better part of like, let's see. So I mean, the whole point of growing up is that you also mentally grow. You know, everybody's human, whatever. Everybody has to make their choices, and it's not until I think like everybody in a family business doesn't realize this, but like sometimes your parents didn't have a choice. They are human. You can't blame them for everything. And like that took me a long time to grasp that concept. Like I hated Asian bakery growing up because I felt like I was robbed of a childhood. Like,
so you were working there like super early?
Yeah, no, it wasn't even that. It was just like, like after school, boom,
gotcha.
Store. Anything, store, holidays, store. Like we were working. Like if anything knows about an Asian bakery, it's one, we're cash only, and we're open almost every single holiday. July 4th, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, we're gonna be there for a few hours, guaranteed. And I hated it. And like even now I still kind of hate it because like it's just rough. And it's just busy. But like got to get your bag. But like it probably wasn't until like what? So like hating it and everything, I was like the only way out is to go to school. That's the only way. Like I have to be able to be good enough to get out, do something else that can make money that can rival whatever this is. And my mom was cool with that in the sense of like, hey, if you can make more money, you got to go make more money, whatever you choose to do. I'm going to say this because I tell a lot of like students this, but it's like, if you can avoid having a job in high school, don't get a job if you can. You see the fast cash and everything and you think you can like, oh yeah, I could keep doing this and make more money. Now you're going to go to college or whatever you do, and you're going to realize, hey, you was working probably like 23 hours a week. Yeah, you probably see like a few $100. That's cool. But now when you go to school, you're not working those 23, 30 hours. At least like the average person is not. Some people are built different, and hey, props to you. But that wasn't me. I couldn't do it. So like, going to school and trying to maintain some money, because my mom wasn't going to give me money. She ain't got enough money to give me to, do school, have side money and all this. So once I realized like it's not possible for me to maintain money and school, I was like, which one has to go? And it's like, I need money.
What were you going to school for?
Originally, I was going for nursing.
Oh, where were you going?
Rick at first, and then I like dropped out somewhere. I think like October or something like that, maybe November. And I was just like, yeah, this isn't it. It's just like I wouldn't have called it mental health at the time, but I was just like, I can't do this. Like, it's just not possible. So
was it just strictly like, hey, I need money more than school, and that's what made
pretty much
decision?
I mean, it's like when you're functioning on like, at least always having $300 a week just like for yourself or whatever the reason may be, and then drops down to like under 100, it's like, fuck, I I barely got enough to eat, and then I also got to take the bus to school and everything like that.
And mind you, because my mom just recently retired because of all the stuff with COVID this year, but she was a nurse for decades. So like, and that's like another thing, like nursing. She went to CCRI, and like they actually have a really good nursing program. But like nursing is not an easy thing from a school standpoint.
No.
So and you're picking hard mode, and you need money.
And it's nuts because like you ask anybody who's a nurse, and they're like, yeah, how much did you really need from things? Like, yeah, you didn't need all that, but you had to like learn it to get the grade and all this, and it's like okay, but and then I tried again at CCRI probably like a year later. Tried like twice. I went to college like
What made you want to do nursing, actually? That's a question I got.
Honestly, I think I just liked kind of taking care of people, but then, one day, I realized it wasn't it.
Gotcha.
To deal with people that simply just can't understand or don't understand why doctors do the things that they do or whatever the case is, I'm just like, I can't deal with this, like.
So it was a combination of things. It was like hey, I'm exhausted. Hey, I need money more than I need this right now. And you're realizing it wasn't for you. So you weren't, why keep going down that path?
Pretty much.
And so was your mom's reaction one of like, she was happy that she has help at the store now that you're coming in? Or was it more like, all right, cool. Like, you're on board now.
I don't think she admitted it, but she was definitely disappointed that I didn't keep going to school. Cause like I think for every like first generation, American born whatever, your parents want you to go to school. They want you to graduate because they think it's the only way out.
And go along with that previous statement of like, hey, your parents are human, because like for them, and like especially like I think our parents' generation, our grandparents, whatever, like college and school and times are definitely changing where that's not the guarantee. But like for them in their life experience and what they know,
school was a way out.
School equaled. You automatically got more money, you got a better job, you got better this. So then obviously they're going to want that for the generation that they create.
Correct. Yeah, but like, I don't think it's said often enough, but the degree devalued once people of color started getting them. And I don't think people are like ready to necessarily have that conversation, but once it became so accessible to so many people, variety of people, it's like, yeah, no, like I wouldn't even like discredit folks or anything like that, but like not too many places care about your bachelor's degree anymore.
Well, yeah, like bachelor's is becoming like the new high school degree now.
Pretty much.
It's almost like the prerequisite to get like an entry level job is now the bachelor's.
Yeah, because like I say it jokingly, but I know it's true out there. But like there's some job requirements. They're like, hey, we need you to have a master's, 3 years of experience, and we're gonna pay you $15 an hour. Pretty sure there's a job like that out there somewhere right now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's just how it is. And I'm like, fuck that, no. I can't do, like, I think for a long time, I always knew that I couldn't work for somebody else because I have a problem with, like, authority almost. Like, I'm not the biggest fan, and, like, growing up in an Asian household, that's kind of all it is. You kind of raised under authority. And, like, at some point, I kind of stopped, like, caring. Like, I don't feel as though I need to be obligated to do anything. And, like, they saw it as disrespectful. I was just like, I don't really care. Like, I just want to do what I do and go about my day. If you feel disrespected, that's on you. I can't control your thinking or anything like that. But, it's part of the reason why I kind of enjoy Asian bakery a little bit now as I get older is, we're a family business. I work with my mom, I work with my uncle, and I work with my aunt. It's 4 people. Occasionally, another uncle will come in and out. But like, these are like close family, friends, uncle, whatever. I think most people of color can kind of relate to that. You just have a close friend and you just call them like uncle or aunt or whatever the case is. They're family. But it's like, hey, like this is my family shop. We work hard, and it's like if you don't get it, that's fine. That's absolutely okay. You don't want to be patient. That's absolutely fine. You know what? We got more banh mi shops coming up in Rhode Island in the past like 2-3 years than ever before. Everybody wants to put their own spin on a banh mi at different stores because it's a popular sandwich now, and it's still ours is cheap. I don't know about other places. Let me say that because I've seen some from $4 or $5 and to $15-$16. And, I'm like, it is what it is. But if you're not down with us, that's okay. Feel free to go anywhere else. We're not forcing you to eat here.
And so you cook at the shop and you also manage, correct?
I would say I mostly manage.
Okay.
Like all credit to my uncle and my aunt, my mom, because they're the ones like, kind of making the food. They're the ones who marinate. They're the ones handling the kitchen. I dabble here and there, but during business hours, I'm not really in the back. I'm usually the guy in the front, making the sandwiches, ringing people out, making the drinks, and it's like everybody has their role, and it's a big role. Like everybody has their little thing. Like if my aunt's working, she's running the in-between. She's doing a little bit in the back, she's doing a little bit in the front.
So you're doing like the more front of house type of work almost,
yes,
and putting the sandwiches together, but all the work of like the ingredients and getting everything prepped is your mom and your uncle, and then you're also managing.
Yeah, so like like the carrots and stuff, like I'm handling that. Like sandwich stuff I'm handling, but when it comes like to the meats, ratios, seasonings, they're in the back doing all of that. And it's just because like everybody has their job. Like it's for them, they know how they want it done, so they're gonna do it how they like it. I go do it, and it's like, oh, you gotta do it a little thinner, you gotta do it a little bit, and it's like everybody is like, if we just do our part the way we want it, everybody's a little bit happier and less there's no complaints.
Like it's kind of almost like an assembly line kind of like
pretty much
from like there's a point A where it's like getting the ingredients in, making them a certain way, and then like there's like point Z where you're at and you're making the sale.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's got like certain parts, like certain points that they take care of. Let them take care of the way they want. Let them manage themselves, and as long as like nothing goes completely sideways,
pretty much
it works in harmony. So when I'm thinking managing, when it comes to like managing the place, like are you doing like the books and dealing with like the health department and the state department and all that kind of stuff when it comes to the store? For
the most part, yeah. Accountant, we have that guy. He handles that. We just got to give him the numbers of the day every month and all that, and then he handles the rest.
So what was that like? Because you're like this lover of food, right? You have food like in your family. Then your mom takes over the spot. Years of grinding, and I'm guessing you weren't managing out the gate. Was that like, what was that transition like? Because I like, that's a lot for anyone, just to be like, hey, you're going to manage this family business. I can only imagine what it's like for a younger kid, like a college age kid, to be like, oh, you're going to manage the books of the family business. Like, better not screw it up because like the family welfare depends on it. It's like, oh, no pressure, like no big deal.
I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but it's like everybody has to take their part. So as I get older, I handle a little bit more, and my mom shifts to doing either a little less, or she handles something else. Everybody has to do their part, to make things work. And it's not like it was impossible or anything, but it's like you learn on the fly. It's like a lot of people could probably relate. They probably didn't have help filling out their FAFSA from their parents. All they got was, hey, yo, ma, I need the W-2s. And then you're sitting there filling out, each criteria the way it's supposed to be filled out, and you're just matching up from FAFSA to W-2 just to make sure it's correct.
What were some of the earliest like management challenges or like important lessons that you learned in like the early days of you managing the spot?
I think Department of Health was always a scary one. Because
it just sounds scary.
Yeah, and it's like it's funny, honestly. Department of Health, it's like it's kind of a kind of a joke in a way, I want to say, because like you leave America and you're gonna find out that Department of Health would go fucking nuts. They end up in South America, anywhere in Asia, they'll lose their minds the way people are selling groceries and meat and everything else. Like, have you ever traveled outside of America, like South America, Asia, anywhere?
Not as much as I'd like to, but I have, and I understand what you're saying. It's just like the health codes and everything change dramatically once you go outside the States.
Significantly, and it's like who's right and who's wrong, and it's like it's a mixture of both, because like we got FDA approved hot dogs that are allowed to have a certain level of feces, roaches, or whatever in them.
Well, isn't it I think the hot dogs we serve at like Olneyville system and New York system, I think we're one of two states in the country, might be the only one where like there's a certain like dye that's like actually a cancer causing agent, but you'd have to eat like so many of them for that but it's a cancer causing agent, and it's just like health department lets that through, so it's just like, what's the criteria here?
Yeah, and it's nuts. It's like there's a lot of issues with everything. It's kind of a messed up system, but The Department of Health was always scary to me because it's like, hey, they have full control on, you like what you would think is right by the book could be completely wrong to them. And they have all the power in the world to be like, hey, we got to close your business down. You're doing like some crazy shit or whatever. And like, there have been a lot of businesses like I've heard, especially like kind of like buffets, not around Rhode Island or anything like that, but like I've heard stories of like mop sink chicken.
What is that?
It's people, they'll put chicken to defrost in their mop sink before they were to like marinate and cook and all that. And I was like, I didn't hear about that until I was probably like 18 or 19. I thought that was like, who the fuck defrosts their chicken in the mop sink?
So
like,
you thought that was like an urban legend or a joke, and then it was
and
real?
Then no, and then like my friend he whipped out a YouTube video and was like, yo, this is real shit. This Texas buffet got closed down because when they went in, like their chicken was sitting in the mop sink.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And, that's just like immediate close. Like, there's just so many factors. And I was always like, I was like, yeah, obviously we can't get closed down. Like, this is our bread and butter. Like, we can't close.
It's the bag, essentially.
It's
like,
the bag. Like,
you can't let you, like, that. It's the only bag right now.
It's the only bag. Yeah. Nobody, especially like for us or anything like that. Like, I didn't learn about investing or anything like that probably until like a year and a half ago. So, like, the only way for me, like, in my head at the time, and my mom's was like, if you want money, you gotta work. The concept of like your money working for you didn't really kind of like get known to us for a while. Like, that was like, oh, what is that? But, crap, I think I went a little too far off, and I don't remember where we were at.
Just like, what are some of the challenges of you being a young guy having to manage the family business? And like, and the Department of Health's definitely a big one, but are there any other like managerial challenges that you're like, oh, this was a crazy learning experience?
Honestly, no, but I've always been been around food like all my life. Like, I worked at Shogun back when I was young. They were like, hey, you're a big guy, just don't talk, and people will not know your age. And I was like, all right, cool. And it's funny because my voice was just so high pitched. That's why. So there was that. I worked at Froyo World. And it was my coworker. She was like, hey, Mikey, if anything ever goes wrong here, just step outside, but don't say anything or everybody's just going to laugh at you. And I was like, wow, this is how you're going to do me. Like, no respect on my name at all.
Wait, did you work at the Froyo World on Thayer?
No. I worked at my friend's brothers in Seekonk and Patuxent Village.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And like,
that's what I thought Tiny Giant was. I thought it was like Tiny Giant was just like a clever, like, oh, he's a big dude. He calls himself tiny. Like, it's that kind of joke.
Oh, well, actually, that's another factor. It was just because, like, I think what most people realize is like, it was floating around. It's like, you're not a 6-foot king. So that's why I use tiny. So when somebody asks me, I was like, I'm just not 6 feet, yo.
Do you ever find it difficult, like, having to either mentally or physically switch gears? Like, is that ever an issue for you when it comes to the business?
All the time.
How do you manage it?
Honestly, it's just accepting the fact that you can only control what you can.
Gotcha.
It's like you have 2 hands, you have 2 legs, you can only go as fast as you can, and it's like sometimes, hey, the chicken's just not ready to come out to the front for me to make a sandwich. Can't do nothing about it except wait. And it's just a mixture of like, you can only do what you can, and that's okay. If people don't get that, you also have to accept the fact that not everybody's you, which is why I like to cut a lot of businesses slack when like, I gotta wait or whatever. So it's like, I have people waiting on my store.
Well, I think it's different when you kind of know how the stuff, like, the saying, see how the sausage is made. Like, when you know how stuff is done and how it's made, or you're around people, like even just doing this podcast for me, like talking to all these different people, kind of getting a sense of what goes on behind the scenes, I think you get more of an understanding and a little bit more of an acceptance in cutting people slack, which I think is a good thing. And actually, to go along with that, are there things about your business in particular, or just the way the public perceives your business, that you like? Are there things you wish people knew? You know what I mean?
I guess it's a little mix of one. I had done a photo shoot last year. Everybody's seen it with like my shirt off and holding the banh and everything. It's just like
I thought it was a hilarious picture. I was like, like that was actually one of the reasons I was like, all right, there's something here when I want to interview this guy. There's a story here.
and it's just I'm not sure if people understand this, but like when people are working and it's just like I'm not a waitress, I'm not a waiter. I can't force a smile unless it's genuine. Like I can't do it. And like that's a big reason why like I didn't like taking photos as a kid was because like why am I smiling if I'm not happy?
Yeah, this seems
Like
weird.
I absolutely
I'm the same way. I don't like
hated it.
posing for photos. I'm like this no.
And like unless I'm doing something goofy or something, I'm not gonna enjoy it. But like a big thing for me was like I know that people think I don't want to be at Asian Bakery, and like to some extent I don't. Sometimes customers are dickheads. Maybe I'm being a dick. Like especially during the summer when it's just boiling hot and like a customer just is difficult. The tolerance level just goes down dramatically.
Because you're a human being.
Like, no. But like I'm not trying to give myself an excuse or anything like that. No, but it's it's a mixture.
If it's like if it's hot for them, it's like well you're next to like the ovens and everything, so like
and it's like I got like last year it was hot and like this one customer she's a regular, she always comes in and like one day I had to tell her I was like yo like I'm sorry, and she's like what are you talking about? I was like like I'm not like trying to be mean or anything like that. It's just so hot that like I'm just trying to get people in and out as soon as I can. Just because like it's the less body heat that there is in the store means that it just might be just a teeny bit colder for me, for someone who has to be here all day. And some people are like, oh yeah, he always looks mean, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean
when I went in there, I didn't get that vibe from you. I mean, it was hot as hell out that day.
But it's like now it's like I have to tell my mom it's like we got to take the right the right measures to make sure that I can have a decent work environment. Like it's just a mood for everybody. It's like if we could keep the store just a teeny bit colder, our mood is just slightly better. If we don't have to have our customers sweating, waiting in line for a little bit, awesome. That's even better. There's a lot of factors, like, and I care about the food that I put out. Like, like if the bread just gets over toasted, chances are I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, you mind waiting a little bit more just so I can redo it. Things like that. And it's like, you can go the little extra mile for some people, and it's like they appreciate that. Some customers, though, I'm like, hey, maybe you're too entitled or whatever. And it's like, just because you'll pay me doesn't mean I'm gonna, bend over and backwards and just, do whatever you want. Like, I just can't do that. It's like at some point I realized last year is like just because you are willing to pay me, it doesn't mean that you can like disrespect me. Like if you say you're gonna order a platter of food for 3 p.m., no show, no call, nothing, and then at like 6:30 you want to come in and say, hey, where's my food? I'm telling you to leave. You had all the opportunity to call, say something, whatever the case is, and you didn't take that chance. I'm very big on just simply telling some people you are no longer welcome here now. And it's like, I don't think people realize this, but have you ever had an immigrant parent or anybody who's an immigrant really who speaks broken English yell at you or yell at anyone and just witness it? You feel like the shittiest person in the world because you're getting cussed out by someone who can't speak English well. Like you're going to sit there and feel so fucking dumb. And like people think that like when I'm saying something, I'm like, all right, I mean, I'm just trying to lay it to you straight. It's like, telling you from me to me. But if my mom assumes that, like, there's a problem, she's going to come out there and be like, what's wrong? And, like, like some dude sat in a chair and I saw him, like, he had a little bottle of, like, vodka in his backpack and he poured it in his cup. He fell off the chair and was like, hey, why am I paying for my sandwich? And I was like, why wouldn't I charge you for a sandwich? And he was like, I just fell. And I was like, okay, but you had the vodka and you don't know how to sit in a chair. So what's up? And he was like, let me speak to the manager. My mom
I don't know why. It
out.
just reminds me of, like, not to cut you off, like Friday, like, my neck, my back, my neck and my back.
And, like, my mom comes out and she's like, what's wrong? You don't know how to sit in a chair? And, like, this is, mind you, like, it's not even, like, I can't even remember it, but it's, like, it's something similar to it. And he's just like, what? And he was like, you're going to pay for food because you can't sit in a chair? You stupid? You can't sit in a chair? And like my mom knows the words. Like, whew, she knows the words. So like, he just stood there and was like, oh my bad. Like, and I was like, yeah, if you can't sit in a chair correctly, that's not on me.
If you're trying to get free food on top of that,
like if you're gonna be tipsy and drunk, like you
want to be given free food because you decided to get drunk.
Like
I'm sorry, can't handle your liquor.
Like, and you're coming on Broad Street to try to snag a free meal.
For anybody listening, can you explain, just a brief aside, can you explain Broad Street? Because you're like, hey, you're on Broad Street. For anybody listening who's either not familiar with Providence, Rhode Island geography, can you explain Broad Street, which is where Asian Bakery is? If you could just, little explanation. You don't have to go super into it.
Asian Bakery, 310 Broad Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02907. We're located right where a lot of unhoused people's shelters are. We have Crossroads, like 3 blocks down, one like to the south, actually towards the east. To the south of the store, we have an Amos House, which, if I'm not wrong, they actually are a recovery program where they'll try to help unhoused folks get clean for whatever the reason is.
I think you got that correct, yeah.
Yeah, and then they try to set you up with like a job with like some licensing or whatever the case is. I don't think it always works out necessarily, but I mean, if it does, it does. But yeah, we're just surrounded by a lot of unhoused folks, panhandling, all that. Yeah. The Yelp reviews will tell you that too. Yelp reviews are the best, honestly. Like I love the ones that we get. You either get a bunch of people who are afraid of panhandling, or you get a lot of uncultured folks who don't have the correct taste buds. And then occasionally I'll see somebody complain about pricing, which, I mean, at that point, I mean, I don't know what to do. Like, shit, you might as well go get off the dollar menu. I can't.
Seriously.
Like,
my God. I got some comments in. Actually, you know what? That actually leads into a question I have. It says fast food. Like, it says Asian Bakery and fast food. It's in the name. Why fast food? Because I don't consider it fast food. Like, when I went in there, I'm like, this ain't fast food at all. This is like fresh homemade food. This is like literally it's your mom cooking it. I was like, this is mom, auntie, grandma cooking food.
Yes.
Yet it says fast food. Like, was that just in the name, or like, does your family consider it fast food? Is it fast food to them?
No. So it was actually in the name. It was 100% in the name because before, when the original owner had it, she had the buffet style, so she could just scoop it and go because everything was pre-made on a steam table. So that's why it was fast food at the time.
And also, like, I noticed too, because you were mentioning banh mi. So would you consider like banh mi is like the specialty of your spot? Or is it banh mi and a couple of other things?
I think it was originally banh mi and spicy noodles, always.
Okay.
Banh mi and spicy noodles. Those were like the original, like that's what we were known for by people who knew about us at the time. And then at some point it expanded into our steam buns, our egg rolls, and our nam chow. Those are like top tier. Those are like the 4 items you can get, and then whichever sandwich you're going to get, you're probably going to enjoy.
So with that, right, because I've noticed like, I'm thinking you could probably just have those things on the menu and that's it. You'd be fine. But I've noticed on the menu there is things
1,000 items.
Yeah, there's like chicken wings, General Tso's, chicken, things like that. I guess more, I'm doing air quotes, but nobody can see me. That's why I have to say I'm doing air quotes. More Americanized stuff. Was that from the previous owner? Was that a conscious decision by like your mom and the family to be like, no, we need to offer some Americanized stuff for like American palates or something like that?
So it's a mixture. It's like, you want people to get like, I'm not the biggest fan of the menu because I think it's just actually just way too large and like,
Give me a little intimidating. Like I know, I'm like, okay, banh mi is the thing, especially from that picture. I'm like, that's the thing to get. The buns are the thing to get. But then there's like 20 other items, and I'm like, why is General Tso's chicken on here? I'm like, I got nothing against it, but I was like, that's more Americanized, like, more Americanized Chinese take. I'm like, I wonder, like, I was curious. That's why I'm asking the question, like, why it's on there.
It's, we want people to come in. That's what it is. We want people to be like, oh, they have this, so let's try it out. And then if they like it, you know what? Just maybe they're gonna try something different next. And that's why, like, the menu is just so massive, is because. The idea is like, you try one thing, you end up liking another thing. Like, oh, you know what? You could trust this place to make you something good. Like, his name is Zach. He's actually the EMS chief. And he recently went vegan. Actually, well, not recently. He's probably been a vegan for like almost 2 years now. Like usually on like the big holidays, he'll call up the store and it's like, hey, let me speak to the guy up front. And, that's me, big guy. And, he's going, hey, I have like $50. I need you to like make my family dinner. I'm like, all right, what do you mean? He's like, I need like a rice dish, a noodle dish, a soup, something, whatever, like whatever you price it out to be. Even if it goes over $50, just shoot me a text and tell me what the price is, and I'm gonna come pick it up tomorrow. And I'm like, all right. And it's just simply because he has faith that whatever we decide to make him, it's going to be phenomenal. And it's just, all right, cool. I like people like that. You know, I'm not going to do it for everybody, though. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, if we have that connection, you know, whatever. It is what it is. But for the most part, I'm like, let's stick to the menu. Let's not try to change stuff. Like, there's a reason with the way things are. And, yeah, like, it's a funny note. Like, you know, some customers will come in. They'll be like, hey, I don't want the pickled daikon. I'm like, and before, we would actually, like, take out the daikon from the pickled carrots and daikon because we mix it together. And then at some point...
I don't get that. That's one of the best parts of the sandwich.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. Maybe they're allergic or something. Or
that could be it.
Yeah, you know, and that's why, you know, only like recently I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense if they're allergic that they can't have the daikon. It's mixed in with the carrots. It's in there. It's mixed in. The essence of it is there. If you're allergic, you're gonna get a reaction. And at one point, so I was like, you know what, let me just test this little thing out. And it's a very rare one, but, you know, customer comes in and say, hey, let me not, I want the sandwich, no daikon. I'm like, cool, but now you have to forfeit up the carrots. And he was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, you got to forfeit up the carrots because they're mixed in together. And I'm assuming you're allergic. Now, I only say you're allergic because, like, why not? Let's just jump the gun on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, never mind. The daikon's fine. I'm like, yeah, okay. That was number one. Did it a few more times. And I was like, yeah, you know, these people think that, like, before, like, I would take to, but, like, hey, we're getting busy now. Like, you know, like, I have customers that will come in and be like, wait, you don't have a line today? I'm like, I guess not. Or maybe you just missed it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm like, we don't have the time to, you know, take this out, whatever anymore. Like, it's the way it is. If you can't have it, you can't have the other. You know, and like most people will say, okay, cool, no, put it back in.
Again, it's the assembly line. You got to keep that assembly line going to make sure it's not like complete chaos. I appreciate the fact Mikey talks about this when the challenges of managing a business come up, because I don't think acceptance as a skill is talked about nearly enough. Mikey simply and eloquently states that you need to be aware of and accept what you can't change, and accept the fact that you only have 2 arms and 2 legs, and you can only go so fast. I think this is amazing business and life advice, because so often, we don't want to accept there are things outside of our control. And even worse, we think by overworking and banging our heads against the wall to the point of burnout for something that we wouldn't be able to change in the first place is the best use of our time. Spoiler alert, it's not. Practice acceptance so that way you can identify what you can and can't change and use your time and energy as best as you possibly can. Saying that the fast food part of it was more from the previous owner, and then also the Americanized stuff in the menu being so big, it's to get people in the door. One thing I noticed that I feel like would get people in the door, and it's advertised to a degree, and like, but I'm surprised it's not advertised more so. It's definitely fast food level prices. I probably spend more on fast food actually.
Oh yeah, no, BK's expensive.
I was gonna say I've spent more on and I don't really like going fast food unless it's like the last resort and it's the only thing open. I've spent way more on Taco. And by the way, this is not like a slight at Taco Bell, but it is what it is. Let's just call it for what it is. Like fast food is fast food for a reason. I've spent way more on Taco Bell than I have at your place for a meal that was nowhere near as satisfying. I actually wanted to, because I came by the other day, I actually wanted to take a picture of the sandwich and the steam bun that I got. And I couldn't because as soon as I got home, I ate it so damn quick that I didn't have time to take the picture.
That's usually the case with a lot of people.
Because it's amazing. And I'm sitting there, and I think that sandwich, and I don't know the price off the top of my head, but it was like, maybe you could shed some light.
It was like $10 for the both items.
Yeah, I think it was like it came up to about 10.
Yeah, it was like $9.90 something. I think.
Yeah, and I think I threw in like a couple of dollars for a tip. I think it came up to like $12, but even that. Like, that's why when you said somebody's complaining about price, I'm like, really? I knew that's like dollar menu. But, like, for what I got, it was amazing. How are you keeping the prices, like, the food's that fresh and good, and the prices are, like, that low? I'm sitting there like, how are they making money? And I'm assuming you are, otherwise you'd be out of business. But, like, how are you managing that? Because, like, your prices are, like, dumb cheap. For the quality and level of food, they're dumb cheap. And, like, that's a testament to, like, how good the food is. But like, how are you doing that?
I mean, it's a mixture of like one. It's like the big thing with like the Asian community is like you raise the price like way too drastic, you lose a lot of customers because they just simply won't pay it. And like that's like, like for us before, you call it like it is, before banh mi became like gentrified and like was like known to these people, like these other groups of people, the Asian community is what kept us going for a lot of the years, and they still keep us going. So it's like, we can't...
I would agree, because I noticed, like, not to interrupt you, but like I would agree, because even years ago when I like heard about banh mi, like the only spots that to get it were like literally like Asian markets and bakeries that like serve banh mi, and it was great. And now, like you said, it's like kind of getting more everywhere. But I'm sorry, but like no, I do agree, like yeah, like you had to do that. So that's the reason behind the pricing, was just it's more of the community that you came from would.
Yeah, it's truly for the people. Like we have never, like I had pulled up a little article of someone who had came in probably in 2000, I think it was 2011 or 2012. She wrote an article about me making a sandwich, and I was like, oh cool. And then like under all that, it says $3.50 or $3.70. After tax, it's like $4 or like $3 something. In about a decade, it's only gone up about $2, a little less actually.
That's insane.
Like I know a lot of other places, they shot it up. They went, like they can bring up the price, they're gonna go for it.
No, it's like you said. Like I've had banh mi at certain spots. It's like 12 to 16 for one banh mi, and that's like 3 of yours.
Yeah, for like a $20 right now, you can still get 3 banh mi's from us. Before it was 4, but just as pandemic has showed us, it's everything is going up. And when people realize that everything can go up, it's very hard to bring it back down. Like, right now, we're in a chicken shortage. Chicken wings have doubled in price. I haven't done a brisket in like a month now because brisket is $5 a pound. I'm just not comfortable trying to charge someone a $20 sandwich.
Is that a struggle for you, though, as far as like keeping the prices down? Just because there was another episode. Again, I am now getting more into shameless cross self-promotion here, people. So there was the episode with Jen Davis, who she's the beverage manager for the Eddie and Dirks.
Yes.
And she made a really good point that, hey, like people have this, they put this value on like cocktails and alcohol, but really it's the food that should be charged more, because food is something you need where alcohol is not something you need. And her perspective was, for like a lot of restaurants, especially in Providence and especially in Rhode Island, because I think like we're like a food city and we're about fresh food and like
we're working on it. We're getting
food.
there.
More so than other places I've been to. Like that the actual value of the food and what goes into it is undervalued. Is that ever like been an issue in your place where it's like, hey, we need to like support the people and keep the prices at this thing, but price of like food is going up, so we have to like reflect that, and also like maybe not so much as your place because it's family run, but if you did have workers, like pay them. So has that ever been a struggle where it's just like, has there ever been a point where it's like, hey, we have to raise the prices? Like what goes into that, or has there ever been a breaking point, or has that not really affected you?
No,
business?
I mean it definitely has, but it's always been more of like, hey, do we necessarily have to? Because everything fluctuates. Hey, one thing's gonna go up, the other thing might go down, and it still balances out. And so like that, hey, we don't necessarily have to raise the price just yet. And we don't want to raise the price, but when we have to, we will. Like, we've hung on to a lot of prices usually for a while, but like this pandemic has definitely made us like have to raise prices higher and faster because everything is getting more expensive faster. Like a year and a half ago, you could probably still buy chicken wings for about $1.50 a pound. And this is in bulk. Now you're looking at about $3.70, I think. And that's for the uncut wings. If you want the ones that are already cut, $4. Like, people can't survive on the same prices anymore.
Being as somebody that's like, again, behind the scenes of food, do you think food, like, especially if it's like local and fresh and it's not, I think Jen made a good point. Like, there are certain restaurants in Providence that they're all getting it from the same Cisco truck, and there are other restaurants in Providence where it's local and et cetera. Do you, in your humble opinion, do you think food in restaurants or food in general is underpriced and undervalued, or does it vary by place to place? Like maybe, and I'm not even saying within your spot, just in general.
It's definitely a mixture. I'd say there's a balance. Like, if like a business is promoting organic, locally sourced, they have every right to raise the price to whatever it is, and like that's why I'm gonna still eat at North. I will eventually eat at Big King. Now that they're open for dine-in, I'm gonna make my way there. But like when these places do that, it's like what these guys are. They're getting their stuff from different places. They're getting it from, I don't know, a farm in Smithfield or something like that. They're getting fish fresh caught from Narragansett and everything. We don't work with fish, but we're getting our stuff from from Boston, because we outsource our bread from Boston, which is magical. I think that's why a lot of people still come to us, is like our bread is amazing. You're not gonna find it in your at random your local bakery or whatever. People ask us all the time. I'm like, yeah, we get it from Boston. We drive up there. Well, I drive up there. I go get it, all that, bring it for the week. I go usually about like 2 to 3 times depending on how busy it gets. But usually it's about like 500 pieces of bread for the week. That's like usually the goal we have. But like no, yes and no. It all depends. Cause like some places, like I don't know, like I look at some places, I'm like, yo, you can really kind of tell like they're just trying to make as much money as possible for as like little as possible, which is I'm kind of weeding it out behind owners, workers, and everything. But it's like when there's a lack of integrity behind the food, and like you could kind of reflect it in the price. Like, hey, if you're doing this, but you're charging, I don't know, like $5 for what is it? Let's just say like New York System, for example. Like for me, I don't eat there as often anymore because I'm like, why is a hot dog $2.50? Like I can't. I'm sitting here. I'm like, I don't know if I could like truly say I support it that much. Like I'm gonna pay it and stuff. Like actually, maybe even higher now for all I know. But it's like some things justified. Some things I'm like, shit. I'm not. You're not gonna catch me paying.
For you, it really varies by place to place and like what they do and like what they're about and it's like context. It really varies. Okay, gotcha. So we're in a digital world, right? And I noticed with the pandemic, there were certain places that didn't take cash at all. Like I tried to pay and they're like, no, we don't do that. And so now it's like, you can have a point of sale. If you have a cell phone, you can have a point of sale system, which before that wasn't even a thing.
No.
Yet your spot is cash only. Specific reason behind that? Is there plans that like, hey, we're going to start? Has that been detrimental? Has there been times where people like would want to go in there and realize it's cash only, and then they're like, oh shit.
Yes and no. I mean, it happens, and it's like sometimes like repeating customers, they'll forget, and I'll just be like, yeah, you know what? I'll let you slide. Just hit me with your quick cash app, whatever, just so I can like get you on your way. Like, just want to get you out. But for most people, they remember. Some people don't. Like, if an order is like large enough, I'll be like, screw it, whatever. I'll take Venmo, Cash App, just to like again get you on your way, because you know what, you spend enough. But if it's like just one sandwich, I'm like, yeah, no. Or and especially like now that like companies are kind of cracking down on it, like if they expect that it's a business transaction, they're gonna tax your shit, and nobody wants to do that. But we're gonna try to work around it, have a little balance of it, and then you also gotta choose like, hey, if you can remember that I have Venmo or Cash App, why can't you remember we have cash? Like we're cash only. It's right there, And but the biggest reason is my mom and my uncle. You ever try to teach old people technology? That shit sucks.
As somebody who worked in IT, and I've had to have many arguments with my mom just showing her the basics of the internet and computers. Yeah. So okay. So that explains a good amount of it.
Like here's the thing. It's not even like I don't want to do it. It's that they don't know that they're not going to learn it. Gotcha. Like my mom has openly said, like even if we bring credit card in, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna be able to use it. I'm just like, all right, say less.
And then that's another thing you have to add to your plate specifically if that happens.
Yeah, and it's like she's like, I would do it if you were always there, but like I'm the one who goes out to like buy stuff or things like that. So like, if I'm not here and we can't take credit card purchase, well, now we've officially like, hey, we lost a sale.
Actually, I think that all right. So I actually is. Yeah, again, you would think we planned this. I think it's a good segue into a couple of questions I wanted to ask, which is if you walk into Asian Bakery, right, like the aesthetic of the spot is like old school family business.
Yes.
Which I dig. Like there's wood paneling, like there's not like it's all like the different like, health posters and all the certifications. Like it's not trying to be dressed up. It's not trying to be anything that it's not, right? And what I think is interesting about it, though, is that the way I found out about it was more not like, oh, I knew this business for a while. I found out about it through Dye House, through that photo shoot, right? I found out about it more through you and through your Instagram and your social media and you being you. And then I'm seeing you around at like at Revival and these like in certain night spots and things like that. And certain people that which we'll get into in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I find that really interesting because, me from a of the same or similar generation, I'm finding out about it through your personality and you being yourself. And yet there's, the business that you have is of like the old school family business. Is that something that you're conscious of where it's just like, hey, I'm going to like promote and make this business for the next, there was like a video that you did on social media, which was really cool. About like things opening up after COVID, and I watched that. It made me want to go in there even more. Mm-hmm. But is that something that you're consciously aware of, or you're just like, hey, I'm being myself, and if it gets customers cool, or it's like, oh no, I can't update the interior, or I can't try and like change the business that way, but I'm going to change the business in the sense of like I'm going to sell me, and through that it's going to get people. I didn't know if that was a conscious decision or not, but I want to get into that because I think it's really interesting.
It's a mixture. Honestly, I actually started off from the Stay Silent PVD hoodie that I have. That they Stay Silent PVD actually.
I'm wearing a Stay Silent PVD shirt right now. Yes, so
they had me model this back in Thanksgiving of I think 2019. Yeah, 2019. And long story short, I don't think I didn't really like value myself high. Like I didn't really figure out like kind of like my place in the world or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go through that again at some point in my life. Maybe multiple times, probably multiple times. But, for Stay Silent, like, I looked up to these people, like, hey, they're a large group of people, and they fuck with Asian Bakery. Like, that's really cool. And, like, they want me to model something. They want our family to be, like, recognized. And I was like, that's really cool. And I was talking about this with Chef Brandon Puckett the other day. Like, to some extent, I think everybody just needs a little push from behind, regardless of who it is. Like, I'm not too sure that everybody gets through life alone or anything like that. And shit, if you do, that's props to you. But not everybody's built that way. A lot of people need a little bit of extra help from behind. Some things you got to get through on your own, and other times you got to get through it with other people. So, like Stay Silent, they did that, and then another member of Stay Silent was Big J. He was someone who was like, yo, like, you have something great here. And he was telling me, like, hey, you know what? You need to, like, record stuff. Like, keep it as, like, memories or even just, like, show that people, like, you do the work. Like, people do the work. And, like,
just document the process.
Just document the process. Like, one day you might look back on it and it's just, like, that's really cool. And, like, for me, it's, like, I like documenting, like, photos and stuff, like, happy moments, things like that. Photos, but like I never really thought to document the work that we do at Asian Bakery. And after like he had like told me that, I was like, you know what, let me try doing this. And then like I started to get more comfortable with it. And then cool, that's awesome. I do that, and then cool, pandemic happens. All right, so pandemic happens, and I'm like, this really sucks. But at the same time, I'm not sure. And I'm maybe, like, it's definitely a privilege to say, like, we came out of it, or not even came out of it technically. But the pandemic helped us a lot. Like, the pandemic helped me a lot to also realize, like, hey, we have something here, and I'm going to promote the fuck out of this so I can make money. It's a pay-to-play world. So, if you have money, you can play. If you don't, then you kind of can't. You can play within your tax bracket, essentially. And I'm like, I don't know what the big grand goal is, but it's like I want to have the money there in case we decide to do something else, to maybe expand or whatever the case is. That's like a story for another day. But it's like we got to do this, and I just had to like kind of roll with it, and I started to enjoy it. Like, I'm not the most. There are some customers who I've never spoken to in all the years that they've been coming to Asian Bakery, and they're like, this is really weird that we're having a conversation. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people tend to think like I'm angry or mean, but like I did the photo to like be like, hey, I am kind, I am nice, I do care, but like did we ever have a conversation to figure this out? Like, you know, like your experience with me is a little bit different because like we had at least spoken on Instagram, so like I was expecting you, you know, like I have an idea of who you are.
Yep.
You know, but if it's like a random person, I just can't, like I grew up in a, you know, like I don't trust people very easily. Like if you come at me with like a really bubbly high energy, I'm gonna back up. Like I don't like that. That's like concerning for me. Like I'm not sure what it is, but like I have to step back and like take a look. Like, hey, what are your intentions here? Like, what's up with you? Like, you know, why are you so like bubbly?
I'm all about like ready to chuckle just because I have an upbeat personality, but there have been people I met that are so upbeat, and I'm just like, why are you this happy at this hour of the day right now? Like, what's up?
Especially at 10 a.m. Like, yo,
what are you on right now?
Yeah, like, you know, so it's like I gotta step back and like reevaluate real quick. Like, you know, some people just come on too strong and whatever. It's like, you know, I give you the benefit of the doubt. You know, we'll talk again, whatever the case may be. But then there are some that are just like, oh, yeah, we aren't clicking. Like I had one customer who, and like I've told a few people this, but it's like I had one customer that was like, "Oh yeah, you know, like I like you. You know, you have a personality. You know, you're not like your uncle over there." And I'm like, "Oh, that's okay. That's cool, I guess." But like in the back of my head, I'm like, "My uncle doesn't speak English that well. What the fuck did you expect from him? Did you want him to ask him how your day's going, how you doing, how's life?
What are you expecting?"
You know, and I was just like, "Oh well, you know, especially as like someone who's a person of color, I'm like, how did you expect this to go? What? He's not gonna care about your day. No offense. He probably like he's just here to make his money. He wants you to make this sandwich. He wants you to pay him and be on your way. That's the transaction. That's what we want. You want to come in. You want to get your sandwich. You want to get out.
And at that point, you could just point to them and be like, "Hey, it's called fast food for a reason."
You know, and it's like I'm like. Yeah, like that's a no-fly zone for me. I don't mess with that because like it's I don't know whether it's entitlement or just like how can you be so inconsiderate to the fact like you've talking to him, you've spoke to him and you can't grasp that he can't have a full conversation with you like and after that I was like, yeah, you know, like some people you just can't and you just got to take their order and get them out as soon as you can, you know?
So we talked about a couple of instances where it's like, hey, the decision to be cash only, why the store is named the way it's named, the aesthetic of it. Then it's like you being you getting, you know, different types of customers, maybe even younger customers in, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there's this interesting, especially with, I think, family-run businesses more so than other types of businesses because you have to deal with the family dynamic, especially if it's a family-run business that has been held for, like, more than a single generation. So how important is it, do you think, for your business and any business to, like, stay true to what brought them to the dance, you know, essentially? Like, rooted in what they do, but then also have this balance of, like, you need to update certain things in order to, like, survive and, like, you know, have the bag essentially.
Yeah. You know, that's something that we've talked about and it's like, we've always tried to tackle the problems as they come. Like, you know, the cash and credit card thing, like we know there's a little loophole right now with like Cash App, things like that. And we work those things out. But, you know, we can't do everything. You know, if people don't want to mess with us because we still do things in old school way, then hey, so be it. I don't know who said it. It might have been Anthony Bourdain, but a good sign of like a restaurant or an establishment that's going to give you some bomb ass food is 3 things: terrible service, cash only, and if the owners don't speak English too well. And for the most part, living by those 3 standards, I've never been disappointed.
There you go. There's the key there, folks.
Like, I have not been disappointed. Like, you know, especially for me, like, you know, talking about my Instagram page, I'm like, you know, these are all, I try to keep it within, like, these are affordable dishes. You know, like, I can't necessarily promote something that I don't believe in. Like, I don't care if you, like, wanted to pay me, but I just can't live with that. Like, you could pay me, but I'm like, if I don't myself am not going to buy a product, I cannot talk about it. And I'm also not here to also like shit on anybody's bread which is why, like, you know, people have always asked me, like, hey, I want you to do, like, you should do, like, a food review thing. And I'm like, yeah, I would, but I'm just not down for that. Because, like, I want you to get your money, and it's just simply my opinion of a place. Like, I just don't see myself buying it. I mean, I can't talk about it. But privately, yes, just not publicly.
So what I thought was interesting is you were talking about, like, perceptions of you not being this upbeat guy, or, you know, perceptions of customer service, because I saw a post from R&B artist Hennessy. Hopefully I'm saying that right.
Yes, I love her.
Where you bought the food to her doorstep.
Oh, shit.
Which was crazy. And I don't think that's like the first and only post where that's happened. And like, you know, and I'm guessing these are like good friends of yours, but like, it seems like you got a pretty damn good approach. Like, it seems like to be the opposite. Like, you got a awesome approach to customer service. Maybe I guess it's only the people that you like. I don't know. But if you want to go into that a little bit.
I mean, so it's a mix, you know. It's like, I know these people. Like, I talk to them. I'm like, I genuinely care about their day. Or, hey, you're in the hospital. Like, are you okay? Like, do you need something from me? I'm right down the street.
That's why I think it's the opposite. I think you have a great approach to customer service.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's, I don't know if maybe it's like a protective thing of just like, you know, kind of growing up and like, you know, I was a fat kid. I've always been the fat kid. I'm the big guy. So, like, the jokes came. You know, I was bullied for that crap. So, like, at some point after middle school, I was like, yeah, you know what? We're going to look mean so that people can't fuck with you anymore. And so I try to, like, keep that mentality. And, like, that, for the most part, has carried me. And, like, I don't want to do that anymore. I've embraced it. Like, I love being big. It's dope. But it's probably not healthy anymore. So we're also working on that. But it's just be genuine. You know, like, I saw Hennessy tweet that she wanted a banh mi and some bubble tea. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make her day. I went into the store, made a sandwich, got her bubble tea, pulled up, and she had a show that day. And it's like, if you can help someone's day just be, like, slightly better for, like, a big moment of theirs, it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Especially if they're your friend, especially if they're, like, you know, they're your friend, like, you're going to do it. Especially if, like, I don't have anything necessarily better to do right now. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, I just want you to have a good day. Why not?
Right.
And it's like, those are some big moments for me. Because, like, during early on last year, I had this one. I have actually a long list of customers that I'm just like, I am so grateful that I met you. Like, you have taught me to be a great human being. There's this one doctor who went to Brown Med. He would always come in at, like, literally the last minute of the night and order a chicken pad thai. And, you know, eventually at some point, you know, we just got to know him. I can't even remember his name. It might be Chris. But, like, if he's out there, like, I hope he's doing well. He might have moved back to Jersey, live with his grandma, or wherever his job has taken him now. But it's like, you know, you meet so many good people along the way that, like, at some point, like, hey, if this small interaction has made me feel this way, and I haven't seen him in like 6 years now, probably. And it's like, and yet this guy still like sticks in my memory. You do the small shit and people are going to love you. Like, you're not going to forget that. Like, he came in and was like, hey, yo, like, how's your A1C now? I was like, oh, it went down. And, like, you know, we had, like, a little, like, woo, that's awesome. That's great. That's fucking awesome. And it's like, yeah, you know, these are people who care. So you're going to pass that shit on. I don't know if you watch anime or ever watch Naruto.
A little bit.
Okay.
No, here's the thing. I'm at brief aside on Naruto. For whatever reason, and maybe it's because I, like, my first exposure to it was the American English one.
Oof.
I just want to punch Naruto in the face because you're like, and I'm like you know, like there's some people that are so damn upbeat, like you want to smack them.
Yeah.
Like Naruto was that for me, and maybe it's because I didn't watch the Japanese one, but like my first exposure to it was like the first time I ever watched it was the
Toonami, like
the English one, right? And he was just so like, I do that, and I thought it was a parody of anime. I'm like, wait, this guy's serious? I'm like, I want to smack him.
And it's so funny because like that's how like a lot of leading male protagonists are in anime. It's
it's
the book of success.
Maybe that's why I like Vegeta. Maybe that's why he's my favorite anime character, because he's not that guy, and I'm like, I can identify with him.
So the thing is, like, in Naruto, Sasuke tries to live a life on his own, tries to be great, tries to get the power, all this on his own. At some point, it clicks, like, I don't want that. You want a life filled with good people, good memories. You're not going to make great memories on your own all the time. But you definitely do want to have people around you that are good for you. So, like, You know, him, he was one. I met a guy named Jake who would always come in, always put on his friends from, and he went to Brown. I think he's doing music out in LA now. Hopefully he is. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, and it's like a big part of me is like, I try to get these people's social media. At least Instagram or anything. And at some point it's just like, yeah, like, even if it's like we don't even ever talk again or whatever, but it's like, I hope you're doing well. Like, I want to make sure that you're doing okay. Like, and if I see something like you're having a bad day, you know, like, let me ask you, because like we've talked before. So at least it's coming from a place of like genuine interest, or like, I care. You know, you're a big part. Like you are a portion of why I am who I am today. Another person's like local photographer, Leon. I actually went to middle school with her, and it's cool because like, you know, things come back. You know, she came in and I was like, you know what, would you mind doing this photo shoot? Like, this is an idea I have. And it's like, I know her, I'm comfortable around her to be like, yeah, I'm gonna take my shirt off, let's do this photo shoot. And you're gonna come across people in life that just make you feel really good, and it's like, keep those people around. And it's like, I know a lot of like social media, like, do not live your life by Twitter advice. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but take what you can from them and, like, you know, make your own versions of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like a lot of people get too lost in it,
caught up in it,
and it's like, are you even?
I got a social media question for later.
Okay,
but not to go break that up, but like that's I'm just keeping that in the pocket right now for later, because I definitely got a question about that. But I noticed like the good people you keep around, for example, like Hennessy, musician, right? And in my humble opinion, I think two things that any culture can make that can cross cultural barriers is food and music. Where
100%.
You don't need to know the language to appreciate the food and music from another culture.
It's a feeling,
right? So how like does food? Because I noticed you know some musicians and whatnot, and you've even been at some events that combine food and music. I think like, you know, there was one at like Revival that was kind of like combining the two.
Yeah. So it was Hush 2.0,
which I think is
it's low key bass, and I don't know if it's exclusive to Brandon Puckett, but I think it is, because Hush 1.0. Oh no, it's not, because they actually did it with Ness as well.
And bass was on. You know, Mike of Bass PVD was on another episode. Yes. Some more shameless cross self promotion here. But how is that? How do you view that? Like, does food and music intersect a lot for you?
100%. Always. You go to any Asian party, they gonna have both. You go to any party, they gonna have both. Like, you can't have music without food, or at least some drinks or whatever. Like, in one way or another, sometimes if a event is strictly music, then it is what it is. But like, if you're around, you know, good friends, all this, you're gonna have food. And a big thing for me is, I always try to have food. Like, Ness's farewell tour was stupid. I realized, because I had never gone out prior to 2021. Like, I didn't really go out like that. I was the stereotypical Asian, just not intelligent. You know, just working. Just work. That's all I knew how to do. And I was like, yo, this pandemic has made me realize I don't want to live a life like that. That shit looks terrible. Like, it's stressful. So you got to find a way to de-stress. His farewell tour, I was like, you know what? Let me go out. Have a drink, whatever. And the first night that I went to New York System. Had a grilled cheese with a grilled cheese deluxe, cheese the fries. So much regret occurred at like 4 a.m. So much regret, because I did not eat New York System for like months, ever since I moved into Warwick. Like, it was no longer on my way home, so I didn't really like pick it up or anything like that.
For those that don't know Rhode Island or Providence geography, quick 2-sentence elevator pitch on what New York System is, just so people know.
Wiener, not a hot dog, some type of meat sauce from a package, mustard, onions, and celery salt on a steamed bun. It's phenomenal, but definitely be under the influence of.
It's phenomenal greasy spoon food.
Yeah,
when you've been under the influence
of something.
Yeah.
Of either or, you know. And I was like, yo, I was like, and a big thing for me is like, I need to also understand, like, pay attention to how food makes my body feel. Like, I'm not in high school anymore where I could put away like 5 McDoubles and feel like I could take on the world right after. Like, I can't do that anymore. I feel like shit. So like, New York System, That's a very once in a while thing. Now, actually, ever since that night, it was probably like mid-May, I have not gone back since yet. And it's ever since then, I started actually like kind of bringing food and leaving it in my car so that after I drink, I'll have a food that won't make me feel like crap.
The next day or day after.
Or the day after, yeah. So like one night I had banh mi's in the car just waiting. Another night I had fried rice, and then another night I had like spicy noodles just waiting. And it's like, for me, some friends, whatever, it's just like, yeah, nobody's had a drunken banh mi before. At some point, I want to be the guy who pulls up to the club and is like, hey, yo, who wants a banh mi instead of a chimi?
I feel like we're going to need the Asian bakery food truck at some point. Or pop-up shop or something like that.
We're working on the pop-ups. I just did my first one. That was pretty cool.
Oh, where was that at?
That was with House Party Vibes over at their studio in Pawtucket.
Oh, okay.
And, Carlos and Norland, they're wonderful people. And it's like, these are the two guys that made me want to do a pop-up with them because I just fuck with them like that. They're cool people. They're genuine. Like, they gave me the details. And I was like, cool. You make my life easy. And like that's how it should be. It's like if you're gonna do something, keep it easy, keep it nice and smooth, and do it with people that you actually like, fuck with.
Like if you do a project with.
Exactly. Like if you're not, down to do something with somebody, then don't do it. That's it. You're not obligated to do anything with anybody. But, it's like when you meet cool people, it's like, yeah, naturally you're gonna want to do stuff like, oh, you know what? They have an idea and this is how they kind of want to do it. Let's see where you can kind of fit into this and everybody's going to eat now.
Doing what you want to do and then food regrets are two interesting points because it leads into my next question, I think, beautifully, which is, what is your opinion on food trends in terms of, you're talking about before, like things getting adopted, like from a food gentrification standpoint? And what is your opinion on food trends that like they go viral on like TikTok or Instagram or whatever? Do you partake in them from like a person that's just interested? Do you ever go like, hey, we need to do this food trend here at the shop? Like,
no.
We could probably do a better version or something. Like, what's your opinion?
No.
What's your opinion on all that?
On food trends, anybody else want to do them? Absolutely do them. I did the watermelon and mustard thing. I found it was good. It tasted like a salad vinaigrette type of situation. I rolled with it. Some people don't like it. I think y'all are soft. Who cares? Whatever. Maybe y'all don't got matured enough taste buds, but to each their own. But like, yeah, if you can, like I'm saying, like food's always going to get better. So like poke bowls and stuff like that, like back in like 2013, which is, like 2013, I had told my old boss like, hey, you should do this. And, he was like, yeah, I don't really want to do it. And like at the time as a kid, I was like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you do it? Like you have the money to. The reason why I'm telling you this, because I ain't got money to do it. And like that's honestly a big thing with like a lot of things. Like sometimes you just don't have the money. Sometimes the numbers just ain't right, that they're not in your favor to do stuff. Money is a big factor in why people can't do something.
Do you see food trends with like that has to do with some of the things that you serve? Like for example, banh mi getting adopted. Do you ever look at it and go, oh, I can do better than these people putting out this like their version of banh mi right now. Like our shits like can blow that out of the water. Or is it more just like, all right, cool, like it's popular now, that means more exposure for me? Or is it like a half and half thing?
It's like half and half. Like, I mean, I don't really care if like you do a better one. Hey, if you do a better one, that's awesome. Guess what? Now I want to try. I want to see why it's better.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because food's gonna get better. So guess what? If you did better than us, let me find out why you did better than us.
Does the opposite happen where you go see some like high price popular version, then you go have it and you're like, this isn't that great?
No, I actually have a big thing for myself. And like, Troop has one. I actually never have had it. And I love the folks at Troop. But I just refuse to buy it because I'm like, for $15, I'm going to go find something else to eat that's on their menu. Like, I fuck with like their Pinnacle. I mess with like the, was it pimento toast?
Their specials are always on point.
Yeah, their specials too. Yeah.
Sometimes I won't even get out the mind. I'm like, what is the special for next day? I know it's going to be
like, amazing. I had ribs the other day and I was like, yes, this is the one. So it's like, it's not like anything, but it's just like, would I want to spend $15 on a sandwich that I can possibly make at the shop? Or do I want to spend $15 on something that I don't feel like making or putting the time into?
It's a good point too.
I'm going to put the money in the $15 of the, the rack of ribs that I'm about to eat.
Well, it's like me being being part Italian, like I grew up in an Italian family and I can cook Italian. That's why I never go out to eat on Federal. Not that like a lot of Federal Hill probably isn't even Italian anymore, but I usually don't go over there just because I'm like, I can make all this stuff. Like, I'm going to go somewhere else. So, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's a big thing for me. Is like, if I'm going to do it, like for me, if I'm going to maybe do it, it has to be like something special. Like, oh, maybe, like there's a bunch of ideas like in the notes section of like just driving. Honestly, I'm going to say it because I don't really care. A lot of my food ideas come while I'm actually sitting on the toilet. Like, I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of people relate where a lot of good ideas just happen when they're doing number 2, doing number 1, whatever. It's just like, sometimes you're just thinking like, wait, that sounds phenomenal.
I would say driving, on the toilet, or in the shower are like the
three best. 100%.
Like the 3 places where everybody gets their ideas.
Driving's the one that sucks though. Because then I can't write it down, but like, shout out to smartphones, just click the little microphone button and it just handles all of it. Or at least to some extent, I can look at it and be like, that's what it was supposed to be. Like the banh mi pizza that I had Javi do while at Nice Slice, he was like, all right, yeah, I got you 100%. And it's like, it's not like something I could do often, but I was just sitting there and I was like, why could this work? Why wouldn't it work? And it's like, I don't plan on working for anybody else. Like, I don't think that's in my line of, like, my future or anything like that. So it's like, I'm going to have fun with this. Like, let's see how it is. Let's see how it works. And that's, like, my version of building up a resume. The more I eat, the more different things I eat, the more I know. Like, this would go good. This would be weird. And, like, I think, like, in one place that does an amazing job at it is, like, North. Like, they do some crazy stuff there. I'm just sitting there, like, how does that even... Why would that... That should not work. And then I have it, and it's like, whoa, that is pretty good.
This eating and building up of the resume, because I've noticed, like, I've had other people on the show that work in the food and drink industry, and one thing that I've noticed when it comes to just something in the water in Providence, I do notice a lot of bars and restaurants in Providence. Like, yes, there's competition, but they're also very supportive of each other. Maybe because we have this little brother syndrome to Boston. Maybe we're trying to stack up against other cities. But it seems like, at least from the people I've met, maybe you could tell me different, but it seems like a lot of restaurants are very supportive. Like, yeah, there's competition, but there's not a lot. It's not like cutthroat to the point where like we want to, like one restaurant wants to see another one fail. I haven't encountered that yet.
No.
For you, and I've noticed like your social media, you're posting about like how you, not even just Providence, like props to you because you're even beyond Providence. You're going to other towns and having their food and it's, and shouting them out. Is that this adding to the mental resume food idea? Is it because you're a lover of food? Is it because you think there's something in the culinary scene of Rhode Island and Providence that it's more collaborative, or is it a mixture of all those three things?
It's a mixture. Like I like traveling for food because it's like it gets me out of the house. I like driving. Let's drive in a direction that has food. I love going into Boston because there's just so much Asian food. So much Asian food. Wow. Bubble tea. There's so much more out there. There's a place called Mogi, and they do like some crazy taro where they actually put taro pudding, like the actual root inside of it.
Oh, damn.
And like it's actually like it's a pudding, so you can actually drink it and stuff. And like, if you're not like used to eating taro, like just the powdered artificial stuff, you won't like it because you're not used to the fact that it's like a very neutral flavor. It's almost like mashed beans almost. But I love that stuff because I grew up with it, so it's really good. And, for some people, they don't like it. Some people, whatever. Another drink I had from them was, like, dragon fruit. And they had, like, mashed dragon fruit at the bottom of the drink in replace of boba. And I was like, nobody's doing, like, stuff like this. And it's like, I want to eat stuff like that. Like, I want to eat the funky stuff, the weird stuff. Like, why not? At least try it, And Boston just has, like, a bigger audience. Like, sometimes I just really want to be surrounded by Asian food. And there's just not enough in Rhode Island for me. Like, people think I'm crazy for sometimes driving to Philly just to eat and come back, like, literally within, like, 24 hours.
Speaking of that, how do you think Providence, the city of Providence, how do you think Rhode Island, just from not necessarily, like, one type of food, but from a culinary standpoint, how do you think it stacks up against other cities you've been to?
Honestly, Providence has a good range. It's definitely not like a New York where we have all this, and it's just because we don't necessarily have the audience for it. Like, I love my chicken shawarma from Mike's Calzone, but, like, if I want, like, a gyro and, like, good halal food, it's like I might have to go to Boston or at least go into New York for really good halal food. And it's like if you can have the best, it's like, yeah, you want it because it just keeps raising the standard. Like, it's almost kind of why I'm genuinely afraid of going to Japan. If I have the sushi there and I have to come back to the sashimi here, I'm going to be heartbroken.
You're going to ruin it for yourself.
Anybody who's been to Japan and had sashimi, sushi, all that, or ramen even, they come back and just frown upon everything around them. And it's like, I'm not ready for that because I love ebisu. I love sakuratani. Like, I'm not emotionally ready to be like, oh no, you are no longer absolutely delicious.
Have you been to the Ganko Itetsu, the one out there?
Yes, I have, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. It's just like, between the noodles, the broth, I'm just like, it doesn't feel rich enough, or like, whatever the case is, I was like, yeah, this also ain't like spicy, even though it says spicy, whatever. So it's like a little variety of things, and not to like nitpick too much, but like, for me, ramen, the best is like ebisu or sakuratani. And it's just all about how far you're willing to drive from where you are.
One quote from your social media, because we're on the subject of local.
Oh shit, a quote.
And I think it's a good, because we're coming up on the end here, and I think it's a good way to kind of like round this out, close this out. It says, don't be foolish putting off getting food from a local spot. You might not get the chance to give them your money later on. How crucial is it, in your humble opinion, whether it's food or anything else, for people? You were talking about, getting takeout earlier. How crucial is it for, in your opinion, for people to shop and buy local?
Honestly, my opinion on it is that if it's good, buy it, and if it's not, you don't have to support it. It's that simple for me. You could be a local business, and I can love it, and I could love you as a person. But if your product is not good, I'm not gonna keep buying it just because I want to just because it just doesn't make any sense for me to waste my money, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
And like, I hope people understand that. And it's something that I understand, because like, your name will get people through the door, but it's your product that will keep people coming back.
Yeah, if the product sucks, and
there's no way around it. Like the pandemic, like, some businesses closed down, and like some of these businesses, unfortunately, they were bad. Maybe it was time for you to close up and like take whatever, like you could take whatever loan, whatever the money came with, but then you could just go. You're done. You just got like a bit of cash, go the other way, find something new, or rework whatever you were doing. Because a lot of businesses, like I think they made a come up, honestly, during this pandemic. Like, people had to get creative. They had to figure out, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to make money. Bills aren't going to stop coming. So, you get creative, you do what you got to do, and like, some businesses open up, some businesses close down, and it's just like, I guess I want to say life, like some things just don't work out. And it's a sign where you just got to take it and go, is this really what we should do? Or is it time to move on and find something else instead of like dragging a dead body? Dead weight.
What I think is really interesting about that too, and I'm glad you mentioned it. What do you think? Like, all right, let me see if I can word this in a way that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So the way that when I've talked to friends about the results of COVID and pandemic and just its effect on the world, the way I've stated, the way that to me is like, you ever watch a TV show where a season will end and then the next season they do like a time jump? Mm-hmm. So it jumps like 5 years in the future, and at first it's like disorienting, but then they spend the rest of the season like explaining what the hell happened in those 5 years, or they'll make references to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, imagine if the whole world did a time jump, but then none of us remember what happened in those 5 years in the time jump. And I feel like COVID like accelerated certain things in the world 5 years, like maybe even more.
Yeah.
Like a time jump happened, but we don't remember anything. Like it was collective amnesia. And
I get what you mean. Yeah. I get that, because like, I don't think I ever had plans to do a pop-up. I don't think I ever had any plans to do things like trying to reach out, do this and that. But the pandemic said, hey, life is going to go on whether or not you go outside or not and do this stuff or without. And I'm like, I don't want to die with these ideas.
So what do you think the future holds? Because I think going along with that, to get to my question, is that it forced people to rethink things, or certain businesses, for whatever reason, whether it was just, I'm not going to go into the machinations of how everybody runs their business. Mm-hmm. So maybe some deserved to go because they weren't updating. Maybe some didn't deserve to go, and it was just a tragic thing that happened out of nowhere, right? It was unfortunate. Whatever the reasons are, what do you think the future holds now for your business, but then also for like food businesses in general, because COVID made this time jump happen where you have to kind of rethink the food game and the restaurant game a bit?
Well, right now, honestly, restaurant workers went from being an essential worker to being pretty much trash, more or less, at this point. Every food joint, whatever you got going on, more than likely, they're asking for help. Like, there's more money to be made doing something else or sitting on your ass or whatever it is. Like, I haven't been keeping up with that. But, it's like, at least for me, it's like, you have no other option but to be great. You need to become great for whatever the hell you want to do. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but I want to do this. I want to see what my mom has given me, and I want to see where it can go. And, it's definitely tough, but, I'm surrounded by people, years ahead of me. And it's kind of like, I guess, I'm learning from people's mistakes. Like, hey, when you're a kid, your mom tells you don't touch the hot iron, right? But you know what you're going to do? You're going to go touch it and you're going to learn from it. I don't want to have to go learn from it anymore. These people have probably already been through it. So guess what? If they tell you how they did this and then it turned out poorly, well, now you have a reason to be like, okay, maybe this way isn't going to work out for you. So let's try another method. Or even then, maybe some of the people around you, they're going to go, hey, maybe if you do it like this, we can be successful in this way. And now you can still make money. And it's like, when you're surrounded by people who aren't trying to be, envious or whatever, you're going to be surrounded by a good group of people that are willing to give advice freely without even necessarily thinking about it, just because they want it. They don't necessarily gain anything from you. They're just like, hey, if you do it like this, there might be something. And then, as another creative perspective, it's like, sometimes we don't necessarily want your input. And I think Carlos and Norland had said it best. It's like, if you got the damn ideas, go fucking do it yourself. We have a way of, we want to do things and we're going to do it that way because maybe that's just how we did it. That's how we want to do it. And that's just because it's our style of doing it. By all means, if you have the idea, proceed with it. But sometimes we're not asking for your input on how to do something. We just want to do it our way. The one that feels authentic to us.
Speaking of learning from mistakes, I think this is going to be the last question, so I think it's a really good one to actually really end it on. You're talking about you're learning from other people's mistakes and learning from other people in general.
Yeah, mistakes, anecdotes, all
that, right?
Yeah.
What are the things that you've learned? And you're still on this journey, you're still learning. But what are things that you've learned that if you could give to your younger self, or maybe there's another version of you out there that's going to be on the come up, what advice would you give to that person from what you've learned?
One? Maybe just one. It's like,
it could be one, it could be multiple.
It could be multiple, yeah, I guess.
Go for it, go off.
Surround yourself with good friends, and you'll kind of pretty much make it anywhere. Surround yourself with good friends. Yeah, that's my big one. Not family, because you can't pick your family. Family's not always the best. I'll be the first one to tell you that right now. But your friends, you choose those people, and if those people can elevate you, make you become great, inspire you, motivate you, and all that, those are the people you need to be keeping around. Rhode Island is on the come up, and if you're not you're not aware of what Rhode Island is doing, specifically Providence, Cranston, and Providence, Cranston, Pawtucket, Central Falls. If you're not aware of what's going on in these little places, you're gonna miss out, big time. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of stuff coming out of this place, out of here, the smallest state, the creative capital, that people are gonna miss out on, and that's okay. But you don't want to be someone who gets caught missing out and then fakes it at the end of the day.
You don't want to be late to the party.
Definitely don't want to be late to the party, but you also don't want to run on some, you don't want to be too early either.
With that is the last question, but, tradition on the show, and I stole this from Hot Ones, so I've said it before and I'll say it again, I stole this idea from Hot Ones because I think it's a good way to end the show. But for this version, you don't have to eat crazy spicy wings. I mean, if somebody wants to come on the show and do that, that's fine. But I'm not forcing anyone to. The open mic is yours. Promote whatever you want to promote. Say whatever you want to say. A hot take. You have an open mic to say whatever you want. Live mic. Go for it.
Have integrity with what you do. Move genuinely, and the money will follow.
All right.
Yeah. Also, Brandon Puckett, you need to bring back the pork belly bows because a lot of people are asking. So now this has to be publicly done. We need Hush 3.0 expeditiously, and that like as soon as we can.
And if somebody's listening to this and Hush 3.0 already happened,
it did not happen yet.
Yeah.
Oh wait, but this is gonna get released. That's true. Yeah.
Not even that. Like if somebody's just listening, like catches onto the show years from now, listens to it, and you went to it, find me or Tiny on social media and tell us how it was, or maybe we'll have another year-end recap episode or something where we'll talk about it. But for now, depending on when you're listening to this, yeah, let's make that happen. All right.
Yeah,
that's a good way to end it. Thank you for coming on, man.
No problem.
Really
Thanks for having me. This was fun. I actually I texted you midway through this just to be like, yo, we can go on longer because the conversation was good. Like, I like talking. Like, you can get me talking, we're going to talk. Well, with that, thank you for coming on. And whoever's listening to this, thank you for listening. And until next time, see you later, everybody.
And that's it for this episode of The Creative Capital Show. Thanks for listening. And a special thanks goes to this episode's guest, Mikey Phenglee. The Creative Capital Show is hosted, recorded, edited, mixed, and produced by me, Jason Sylvia. You can listen to The Creative Capital Show over at our website, creativecapitalshow.com. We're also available on Anchor FM, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other major podcast hosting platforms. If you like the show, please subscribe. Helps the show out a lot. And be sure to follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I hope you enjoyed the show, and until next time, keep on creating.